Hello, everybody. My name is Abigail, and I'd like to welcome you to the webinar about Are You Making the Call to Action, hosted by Continue to Give. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. All attendees will be in listen-only mode. There will be a spot for you to ask questions for the Q&A at the end of the presentation. At any time, you can put your question up at the top. There should be a little question mark with like a little comment bubble around it. But with that, I'd like to get started. And also, if there at any time, if there's an issue with your screen or if you can't hear, there is an attendee chat and the questions will be monitored as well. But like I said, my name is Abigail. I'll be presenting to you today about making your call to action clear for your givers here. So let's get started. So it's really important, as we're going to be talking today about your call to action. There's many different types of calls to action. We're going to be very specific in making a call to action to donate. You do want to think of your donors as customers, and what you're doing is you're actually presenting them with a cause. So you do want them to be purchasing into your cause. It's really important that when you're making a call to action, you're giving them a way to respond to your call to action very quickly and easily. You do want to make the donation process convenient. You want to make it easy, and you want to make it happen right there. So what you want to do, if you haven't already, is register on Continue to Give for online, mobile, and kiosk giving. Some of the areas that this is going to be most relevant for you is going to be in church tithing, making that call to action for donations. If you're a missionary or needing missionary support, nonprofit pet rescues, human rights, individuals, adopting fundraisers, fellowships, and the list goes on from there. But you do want to get registered. You do want to have these avenues in your back pocket before you start promotion. But today we're going to assume that you have all of these up and running. You have them in your back pocket, and you're ready to actually promote your call to action. So what is a call to action? A call to action is what you or your organization would like the individual to do. So today we're going to be talking about specifically a call to action to donate. So everything about your organization, all your content should revolve around this. So it's really great, like on your homepage, to have your pictures and videos telling your potential donors what their donation is going to go for. And you really want to funnel it down then to be very specific to your call to action is then to get them to react by making a donation. So some important things to ask yourself is when a donor comes across your website, is your call to action clear? Is it clear on what you would like that donor to do? So what we're going to cover today, we're going to cover specifically website fatigue and how to make sure your call to action is clear on your website. We're going to talk about the different marketing materials that you already have that maybe need to be updated, or maybe new marketing materials that you should be generating. We're going to talk about social media effectiveness, how to promote your call to action on social media. Then we're going to talk about the marketing material of email fundraising and how you should be taking advantage of that, some pros and cons to it. We'll also touch on event management at the end as well. Again, some things you should have in your back pocket when you're looking to promote your call to action. You should be registered on Continue to Give with your online giving for mobile kiosk. Social media, able to have those areas up and running for your givers. You should have social media accounts up and running, so like a Facebook nonprofit page, a Twitter nonprofit page, and stuff like that. You also need to have access to your website. So if you have a website administrator, or if you're that website administrator, so that you can make these changes. The last thing you should have in your back pocket is a contact list. You want to be able to market to potential donors. A great way is to have that contact list of your current donors and possibly future donors, and you want to be growing that contact list. So let's get started here. So we're going to talk a little bit about website fatigue, why it's important your website is structured with a clear call to action, and how to avoid your donor getting frustrated with trying to act on that call to action. So what is website fatigue? It's really when somebody gets frustrated with your website. They're trying to navigate, but they can't find what they need. So one of your main call to action should be to collect a donation. So on your homepage, it should talk very clearly about what you're doing and how that donor can support you. Then it's very important for you to have the donate button front and center, easy to find, and also reduce the number of clicks that they need to find it. So some things to ask yourself when you're looking at your website, since your call to action should be to collect a donation, ask yourself, how many clicks does it take to locate your donation button or donation badge on your website? They should only have to click one time to reach a donation form, and then in that form, one time to actually commit that donation. So your donation button should be specific. It can be in multiple areas on your website. Having more than one donation button is a really great idea, especially if you have different projects going on. Make sure it is visible and accessible. So let's just take a look at kind of a bad example of a website. For example, we're going to look at Hope Through Jesus. When we're looking at their homepage, it's great. They have a clear call to action. They have that donate button front and center up in the upper right-hand corner. That's really great. However, if I'm a donor, I've been convinced I need to donate. I click on that donate button. Well, now I'm brought to another page that talks more about why I should donate. So I'm like, okay, I've already decided I'm going to donate. I'm going to click to give. Now I'm brought to another page, and I actually have to click the donate button again before I can ever start typing in how much I want to give and typing in my payment information. What's really important to note about this is it took 3 clicks for me to actually be able to start the donation process. Now, if I'm a donor, I can start getting frustrated with how many clicks, especially if my internet's poor. So as pages are trying to load, that can get very frustrating for me. So let's clean up this page. This is what I would suggest for Hope Through Jesus. When that donor has been told about your call to action, they want to react, they want to donate to you. As soon as they click on that donate button, they should be brought either to the iframe on your website where the donation process can happen, or they should be directly brought to a pop-up that they can actually start typing in how much they want to give and how they want to pay for that donation. You should assume that once your donor is clicking on donate, that they want to start the donation process. This is a huge mistake on most websites where the donate button brings them to another landing page, which then they have to click on a donate button again. It's also very important that your donate button is clear. You don't want to make it just a link text somewhere on your website. You actually want a physical button that looks pushable to a donor, especially when you're talking about different generations that are using technology. The older generations need to typically see a button, typically a colored button, circle or square, however you want to implement that. So let's talk about marketing materials. When you're creating your call to action, you're going to provide supporting materials. So for example, these can be brochures, bulletins, posters, newsletters, mailers. So for example, if you're a church, every time your donors are coming to church, they're typically handed a bulletin. That bulletin should have a very clear call to sign up a recurring tithing plan with the church. It should be easy for them to know how to actually make that donation and make that happen. If you are a missionary, sending out a physical support letter in the mail, being really clear how can they make that donation. The letter should state very clearly, what the reason is you're sending out that letter. It's important to differentiate too what marketing materials and what calls to action there are. You may have a call to action where it's just an informative. You may have a call to action that's sure that each marketing material is very specific what your call to action is. If you have more than one call to action, limit it to 3 and have one main call to action. So what should you have on these marketing materials? Typically, when we talk about marketing materials, we're talking about physical pieces of paper or posters that you're either mailing out or you're having somewhere at a location. So when we're talking about a physical piece of paper, it's not always easy for somebody to go jump on a computer. However, they're going to have their mobile phone on them. So it's really important that your call to action is to donate mobily. One of the great things about QR codes is they're quick and simple, and you don't have to actually type anything in. Basically, they take their phone, they scan, they're immediately brought to your Continue to Give donation form. That way they can start the donation process, they can set up that recurring donation. Some marketing materials are digital, so if you actually have a PDF that you send out to donors, you want to make sure that your URLs are linkable in there so that they link directly to your donation button or to that spot where they can start the donation process. So really important that when you're making these marketing materials that you have these in place, because you're asking for a donation and you need to make it easy. You can locate any of these QR codes or text to donate numbers on your Continue to Give profiles. You can separate them out by project. So for example, if you have an event that's going to take place, like a women's conference at your church, you need people to purchase those tickets. You would want to take that specific QR code, that specific text to donate number, and put that in your marketing material. So be very specific as to what you're directing your potential donors to. And also make sure to be sharing the marketing materials. It's really important. Churches and nonprofits, you do have to market yourself. You need to get in front of these potential donors and potential givers. So let's talk about social media. Social media is another way that you market your call to action. It's really important to stay engaged with your givers. There's lots of different social media accounts out there, so let's just talk about a few of them. So for example, Facebook. Facebook is a must-have nowadays. You should have for example, a nonprofit page on Facebook. Your donors have them like you on Facebook, share things. This also helps crowdfunding as well. Twitter, Google+, having a blog. It's really important to have a blog. That ties into a lot of SEO, getting your name out there on Google so that Google points more people to your website. LinkedIn would be for professional acquaintances or more of that professional look and feel rather than Facebook. So it's difficult to just choose, one or two. So it might be nice if you have a couple of them set up. It's important to have regular posts on these different social media accounts. Pictures are really great, videos, project statuses, letting people know, what they've given to. And typically your call to action on these social media accounts is going to be more informative. So you're not going to always want to be bombarding people with donation. On here, it's going to be a little bit different, where you've already asked for the donation on your website. You've asked for the donation through some of your marketing materials on social media. Now you want to engage the giver and say, look at what your donation did. Maybe set yourself reminders on when things are going to take place in your organization so that you're keeping up with your social media followers. but it's important to keep these donors engaged so that they don't forget about you. So that can be kind of difficult to try to remember, when should you post, trying to come up with content all the time. So we've kind of put together a list here of different social media management tools that can be very helpful for you. So for example, one of the tools we use a lot is Hootsuite. So you have one account you log into that has all your different social media accounts tied to it. So you would just type in, for example, building campaign and a link to the blog post on it or a picture. That'll post to all your social media accounts. So that's really great and easy for you. You can also schedule it out. Maybe if that post doesn't have to go out for a week, really great tool. We do have a link here for you as well if you'd like to learn more about some different social media management tools. We're going to touch on email campaigns now. Email campaigns are very important when you're trying to reach new givers. Also very important when you're trying to be informative to your current donors. So some things to keep in mind about email. Email is a great tool, but it can be misused. There are certain spam laws that are in place. You need to make sure that you have an unsubscribe button at the bottom of your emails. You don't want to be flagged for spam. So it's really important that you're not just going out there and buying lists of, maybe your area. You want to make sure that they are wanting your communication. So one of the ways to collect good email leads would be to actually have a form on your website somewhere where it says they can sign up for newsletters. That would be a good way to collect email leads. But just making sure that your email contact lists are clean, you're allowing people to opt out, really important. It's also important to not use email a ton. People do get emails, every day. You don't want to be emailing them every day. You want to keep it to important events, important announcements, because email is very direct, and you want your donors to realize that when you send out an email, it's an important piece to read, and it's not just, oh, I'm getting another email. So just be careful about that. Let's talk about bounce rates a little bit. The more pictures and hyperlinks you put in your email, the more your email is going to bounce. What does that mean? It means that your email looks like spam, and their email is not going to accept it. So really important, keep the email simple. Keep maybe just like maybe one call to action with that link in there. And again, we're going to be promoting a donation specifically, but trying to keep the email list clean, trying to keep the email clean and concise as well. So there are a lot of tools out there, a lot of free ones too, that allow you to create these email campaigns. So for example, Mad Mimi is a great one. You can actually create a drip campaign where, for example, if somebody signs up on your website to receive newsletters from you, you can say day one, send them a welcome email. A week later, send them an email about making the donation. So really, really great features on these two. Really great because you can actually be adding buttons. You can track who's opening the emails, who's not. So you can actually get an idea for what emails did well, what emails didn't. So really great tools for getting email campaigns started. Let's just take a look at an example fundraising email here. So with Continue to Give, we do have great links that you can put inside your email to direct people directly to a donation. So when we're sending out an email, we want to think, what's our call to action on this email? Typically for an email, you want one call to action, very specific. You want your email to funnel down to it just like you see here. So you're actually seeing what we're asking for, we're connecting with the giver, and then it funnels down to that donate button in the email. It's really important after that donate button to donation, especially So again, when you're doing your emails, a couple things in mind. Tell your story, connect, explain how the donation helps, and also ask for recurring donations. Now, recurring donations should be asked on your website. They should be asked on your marketing materials. Donor fatigue is really important when it comes to donations, because when you're asking for a recurring donation, you're making an impact one time. That donor may set up that $50 recurring donation for you for the rest of the year. Now you don't have to bug them every month or every time you need a new donation, because they're actually just set up on that recurring period. You're going to lessen donor fatigue. You're going to have more committed donors, and it's kind of a set it and forget it. And then later, when you're providing them social media, it's a great tool for them to see what their donation went for. It's also doing emails, or you're doing any of your marketing campaigns, that you want to make sure you're telling the donor, if you give, for example, $10 a month, that will go toward, or that will buy food for. So it's really important. A really great option for an email fundraiser is when you're doing a specific project. So for example, let's take a humane society as an example. They have a lot of dogs and cats. Maybe they want to sponsor one specifically. They would go on, continue to create a project specifically for that dog, and maybe put that in the email. So they would actually have a featured pet maybe every week that they send out, and people can maybe do one-time donations to each featured pet. So you can get creative with emails, but again, keep them concise. Take out, if you have tons of links in your emails, take them out. Really focus on what's your call to action. What's the reason this email is being sent out? Especially if you are a missionary or a nonprofit, you want to have maybe one link in the signatures of your emails, specifically, if you're talking back and forth to donors about any communication, that way it's in front of them about getting that recurring donation set up in your signature, just in case, that they haven't gotten that set up through the different marketing campaigns you've sent out. That's a really great idea to have that in your signature. So I just want to talk a little about events. Events are really important. They get you face-to-face in the community. They engage your giver, and it's just a really great way for you to get out there and meet more givers. So on Continue to Give, we have a couple different things we recommend for events. So one of them is that if you're actually having people register for an event, you can use Google Forms. Google Forms are free to use, and we'll talk about those in a little bit more detail. It's also important that you have a call to action at your event. Now, if this event, again, is for donations, you want to have a physical presence for donations. So we do offer, for example, kiosks that you can have taking that donation. Again, having posters at the event that have the mobile and text to donate number. But it's important to have some of these things at your events set up and be prepared for them. So if you're not familiar with how to get set up with a designated giving or project giving, where you're actually designating, a missions project for a church or a capital campaign, we do have this link right here where you can just kind of see the step-by-step on that at a later time. So just want to show you what these kiosks look like. They give a statement, they're bold, they're a great call to action at an event, especially if people need to pay at the door. They can be set to the event ticket, anything you need in retrospect of having a clear call to action, a clear point of donation at your event. Typically at a church, it's important to have a physical call to action where that kiosk sanctuary for donations, where it says, set up your recurring tithing here, capital campaign, give to the food drive, the food pantry. If you're having an event for a nonprofit, having these there, especially, again, I'm going to bring up the Humane Society. Typically, people want to designate their donation to a specific dog or cat, or they know that they want to pay for food, so they want to do something specific. So having that call to action in a nice location in your Humane Society where somebody can walk up, decide which dog or cat they're going to sponsor that day, and then swipe their credit card to make that donation. Very important. Kiosks are great for collecting new givers. So at these events, a lot of times that's where you're going out in the community and you're trying to market to more donors. You're trying to get more donors. So when somebody actually donates on the kiosk, they'll be put under your donor list. You'll have access to their email. And then again, you'll be able to put that in your email campaigns. Keep up with that donor. If they only made a one-time transaction, hopefully you can get them to commit to you a recurring donation each month or each week. So a really great feature about collecting more donors at an event. So let's talk a little bit more about event registration. It's really important that you're able to utilize the free tool it has. One of the new ones Google came out with is these templates or forms where you can create a customized form and have people register for an event or register for a camp function. Really easy to create. They're all template based, so you just stick in a template if you need a drop down, anything you need. So again, like I said, these are free. They're on Google. You can track registrations. You can get reports, email reminders. We do also have a link here if you would like to look at the actual step-by-steps on how to get started with the event registration on Google. When you're having people register for an event, if this is a paid event and they need to actually pay for a ticket, you can customize the thank you message that pops up after they register to say pay for the event, and then you want to put your link for your Continue to Give event ticket on there so that they can actually pay for that event there. So a really great way for you to be able to create customized forms and then have people pay for them. So just kind of want to about today. Again, remembering that as we're trying to promote, you need to have easy and accessible ways for people to respond to your call to action. If you haven't already done so, registering on Continue to Give, having your online, mobile, and kiosk giving ready for these events, ready for the donations that are coming. So there's a lot of strategies that I talked about today. Don't try to, go to the office and do them all at once. Plan them out. Maybe make a rough draft on your marketing materials, what you'd like to enhance on your website. So make sure you're planning and having a strategy to put these in place. One important thing, maybe one of the first things you should look at is the donate button on your website. Again, ask yourself, how many clicks does it take for your donor to actually start donating? Is it clear that there's a button to actually make the donation? Again, I would strongly advise against if you are just having wording that's external. That can be hard for donors to navigate sometimes. Making sure that all your marketing material is clear, it has a call to action to it, a piece of paper. Again, we're talking about donations. Is it clear that you want that donor to donate or commit to a recurring donation schedule? Implementing social media is very important. Again, the call to action for social media shouldn't necessarily always be donations. That can get old and repetitive. Making sure your social media is showing the impact of their donations. What did their donation go for? It's like congratulating your donor that they helped with the cause and help achieve the goal. Email campaigns, again, like I said, be careful, obey spam laws, have the unsubscribe at the bottom of the email, and also use them effectively. Emails can be very effective in getting more donations. They're very direct. And also their tools, the free Google Forms, the Continue to Give projects and events are very helpful as you're trying to gain more donors, as you're trying to sell tickets for events and grow your cause's communication. So we're going to open up the floor now for the different questions and answers that you've been able to submit throughout the presentation. We may not be able to get to everybody's question today. So what we'll do is if you have a specific question, you can email or give us a we can answer that with you privately. Also, if you'd like to learn about any of these in more detail, feel free to shoot us an email what you would like to hear as a next presentation. If any of these avenues you'd like to dive into deeper, just give us feedback on that as well. But with that, I'd like to open up the floor. We'll go through some of the questions that you've had through this presentation.
Abigail, one question that came up is, are there ways to donate through your Facebook page?
Yes, that's a very great question, Kelly. Ways to donate through your Facebook page. The two main ways would be through your actual donation feed. So if you're actually posting your donation link, asking for the donation, that can get buried, but it's a great way to show up and remind people. The other way that you would want to collect donations is actually on your physical Facebook page. Facebook does allow you to configure a call to action, make that a donation button, and you can also have a donation button on the left-hand column of your Facebook page for the Continue to Give app that would be on your Facebook page. So 3 different ways doing through your news feed. So when you're creating a post, or you're going to have a stationary donate button on your actual Facebook profile page.
Abigail, the second question that came in is, what email software site do we use, and is there a reason why we prefer that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we Mimi here Continue to Give. It's a really, if you don't have a large email list, and we had tried some of the other softwares that were out there. We preferred Mad Mimi because of the ways they do drip campaigns and because of the ease of use. Can be just a little bit easier than, for example, MailChimp. Question,
Abigail?
Kelly, from the Q&A?
Nope, I have no more questions.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'd like to thank you all for attending the webinar today. Again, if you have any questions, just shoot us an email at the customer service at Continue to Give, or give us a phone call at the 800-684-0550. If you're new to Continue to Give and you'd like to get set up with these giving avenues, the extension would be 2. And if you're a current client and you want to learn how to actually get the donation badge up on your website in a good area, or have us take a look at your website, the extension would be 1. This webinar will be available to watch again. We'll post that at the end. And also these slides will be available as well so that you can go through it at any time and click on the links that we've provided. So with that, I'd like to wish you all a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching the webinar today about your call to action.